because I am from Richmond. I'm proud to say that I am from Richmond. When I'm in Los Angeles and I'm in Compton, and I tell the people in Compton I'm from Richmond, they know to watch out. Because they know the kind of people we grow in Richmond. Now, you've heard a lot today, and we've been talking to you because what we're here to do today is to extend to you an invitation. And it's an invitation to join us as women lawyers, as minority lawyers, minority judges, women judges. You may not realize it now, but I hope that you're starting to realize it. But the fact of the matter is that you are in the company today of some of the most distinguished legal talent the state of California has to offer. Many of the people that spoke to you today in those rooms are accomplished lawyers and accomplished judges. They have taught, they've practiced, and they have seen it all. And they're some of the finest anywhere. And they want you to join them, and I want you to join me. Coming from where you come from, I know that you can do this. You don't have to be a lawyer like Chris Darden. You can be a better lawyer than Chris Darden. So I want you to accept the invitation that's been made to you. Now, some people say it's hard, and I read some of your comments about this program and about becoming a lawyer. And some of the questions were about reading and how much work it took and how long you had to go to school and to go to college. And time again, we heard about how hard it is. But let me tell you something. The Richmond Unified School District may not be the best. You may not always have what you need, but what you need is out there. What you need is out there. Now, what you're getting, you may not think is enough, but trust me, it will be enough when the time comes. If only you take advantage of it. None of us had everything we needed. None of us had the perfect education. None of us lived in the best neighborhoods. None of us lived in the best homes. But somehow we made it. And we made it because of who we were, because of where we came from. Richmond is a tough place. Guess what? It was a tough place in 1960. It has always been a tough place. It has always had a depressed economy, it seems to me. There's always been issues of crime. It's always been difficult sometimes to go to school. There's always been some degree of poverty. You know, Richmond was decimated by the AIDS epidemic. But somehow we always managed to make it. Especially those of us who wanted to make it, and especially those of us who are willing to try. And when I say that I'm at home, you know, I went to school at Eastern School, Martin Luther King Elementary, Adams Junior High School, and Kennedy High School. My sister went to Harry L's. My mother went to Richmond High. We've seen it all. North Richmond, I know North Richmond. But even then, back in the day, I made up my mind early that I wanted to be a lawyer. I want you to make up your mind early that you want to be a lawyer too, because you have to get prepared. Yeah? It's not something that you're going to just walk into one day and say, hey, I want to be a lawyer and sign a piece of paper and become a lawyer. You have to get prepared. And to get prepared, there isn't a whole lot you have to do. You need to start reading. Have you read To Kill a Mockingbird? Yes. Have you read it twice? When you read To Kill a Mockingbird, were you moved by what happened to Tom Robinson? Tom Robinson was asked to what? Repair a Schifferow? Did you know what a Schifferow was? Did you look it up? You have to read about the Tom Robinsons of the world. You have to learn to not only read these books, but you have to analyze them. You have to be critical. I mean, what is really going on in To Kill a Mockingbird? What is it really about? It's about racism and race relations. It's about justice. It's about the truth. You know what? It's about integrity. These are the things that you have to do. You have to prepare yourself for by reading and by writing. Because it isn't just enough to stand in front of a group of people and talk. You have to be able to put your thoughts on paper. Not every judge has time to listen to you talk for an hour. And sometimes the best advocacy is done in writing. And so as you're reading, you want to be critical of what you read, and you want to write, and you want to perfect your writing, you want to work on it. Don't be scared. I've written 5 books. And writing those 5 books was one of the best times of my life. And then I stopped writing books and I went back to practicing law. You know how I freed myself. I got a chance to look into myself, to look at myself in my writing, to look at the world a different way. But what I also was able to do was to express myself. If you want to be able to express yourself, you have to do more than just talk. You have to read, you have to think critically, and you have to write. Now, some lawyers aren't great talkers. Some lawyers aren't great writers. Few lawyers are mediocre at both. But for you to succeed and to go on to law school and go on to become what you want to do and what you want to be, you need to read and you need to write and you need to be critical of what you read and what you write. And I say it 3 times. I'm going to say it again because that's important. If you're 13, you're 14, you're 15 years old. You're thinking, wow, you know, law school is something that's way ahead of me in the future. But guess what? It is right around the corner. In 3 years, you're going to have to make a college decision. You're going to have to decide whether you're going to go on beyond high school. And within 3 or 4 years of that decision, you're going to have to make a decision about what you want to be in life. I know what I want you to be. I want you to join me as a member of the bar. I want to look into the well and know that I'm not the only Richmond lawyer there. Now, I was born in the county hospital in Martinez, California, as were my brothers and my sisters. And one of my sisters got a degree at Dartmouth. One of my sisters has an MBA at Berkeley. Another has a business degree at Berkeley. We didn't have much. My father never finished high school. He had 8 children within 13 years. We lived in a 900 square foot house with 1 bathroom. But you know what? My daddy did not accept a B. And he certainly didn't accept a C. And he didn't beat up on us and yell at us if we came home with one, but he was disappointed. He set standards for us, and you have to set standards as well. You have to want to do well. And you can. I know there's all kinds of things going on. I know there's Facebook, Xbox 360 Live, and Twitter, and I know there's a lot of partying going on, skateboarding. But you know what? You don't have to give any of that up. You just have to give some of it up. And just get serious. Now, if you're in the 9th grade, the 10th grade, you think, hey, I'm just a kid, I'm just a teenager, why should I get serious? Or, well, everything around you is serious. And if you're growing up in Richmond, you know it's serious. So it's time for you to get serious about you. Is that where you want to be? You know people, and you look at them, and is that who you want to be like? You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. Is that all that you want for yourself? I want more for you. I want you to want more for you. I want you to join me here. When I decided to become a lawyer, I was no more than 15 years old. I read about lawyers. I read about lawyers in the newspaper of the day. I read about lawyers in the library. I read about the law. I realized that lawyers can make a difference. Lawyers really, really can make a difference. This time last year, I tried a murder case. I had a young man who was accused of being involved in a robbery, murder. He's 23 years old. He's spent 3 years at Fresno State. Initially, the prosecution asked for the death penalty in his case. And I convinced them not to seek the death penalty so that the maximum sentence would have been life with no possibility of parole, meaning that no way, no how, no matter what, this 23-year-old would never, ever be released from prison if he were convicted. And when I met this young man, he was a likable young man. He told me his story, and I could relate to his story. And after I heard his story and after I looked into some things, I was convinced that he wasn't guilty. I became convinced that he wasn't guilty. And so I represented him for a while, and as the case went through the process, he couldn't afford to pay me. And his mother couldn't afford to pay me. And this was what we call a special circumstance case, and it was a complicated case. And the trial was going to be a long trial, but I believed in him. I believed he was innocent. And so I continued to represent him anyway. Last year, last September, after an 8-week jury trial, the jury came back and found him not guilty. And jurors, as they left the courtroom, asked the judge permission to give him a hug. I like to think that during that 8 weeks and on that day, I made a difference. After the trial, the homicide detective came to me and he said to me, I used some curse words, said I was full of BS. But then he told me, he said, Chris, in the end, you convinced me too. I don't believe your client's guilty of murder either. Last week, he had a baby boy. You can guess what the baby boy's first name is. It's Christopher. And so, in my 30 years as a lawyer, I've done a lot, I've seen a lot, I've tried 31 murder cases. I've been everywhere, I've met so many people, and I've dealt with so many issues, complicated and simple ones, in terms of the criminal law. I've convicted people as a prosecutor and helped set people I believe to be innocent free as a defense attorney. I can't imagine anything more important that I could do or could have done with my life if I died today than the work that I have done on behalf of the state of California as a prosecutor and on behalf of those that I believe to be wrongly accused. But I can't continue to do it. I can't live forever. I can't do this always. At some point, I have to pass the torch on like it was passed on to me. I want to pass it on to you. I think all of us here want to pass it on to you. As you think about your life and as you think about what you're going to do with it, don't let anybody tell you that this is too hard to do, because it isn't. We did it. We did it. And if nothing else, what you have in front of you and what you had in front of you today are living examples of what you can accomplish and what you can become. If you want to make a lot of money, okay, become a lawyer. If you want to make a difference in the world, also become a lawyer. If you want to hang out with P. Diddy in the VIP room one day, become a lawyer. If you want to hold a mother's hand while her son is sentenced to life and comfort her, become a lawyer. We gave our time to you today, and it's only a small amount of time. It's only one day in our life. I got up at 4 o'clock this morning, skipped court, got on a plane, and one of the worst plane rides I've ever had, by the way, it's raining in LA. And I came here like my colleagues came, because we wanted to extend this invitation to you personally. I'm going to leave my number. I'm going to leave my email address. If you call me or send me an email reminding me that you met me in Contra Costa, Martinez, and I'll respond to that email. Now you may say, okay, this guy's talked to us today 27 times, and now in the end he's talking to us again. Who is he? I wrote a book about myself about 15 years ago. And I wrote that book because I wanted to tell my side of a certain story. But I also wrote that book because I wanted to talk about my life, how I became a lawyer, what the trials and tribulations were, the obstacles that I had to deal with. I wanted people to know about my journey. So I want you to get that book if you can. Ask your teacher about it. Google my name and you'll see it. It's in the library. I just want you to read it. And you know, I mentioned earlier that the book is like 25 cents now on Amazon. and I'll refund the 25 cents to you if you buy it and send me a note.
Which title?
In Contempt. It's called In Contempt. And I want you to read it because I think that if you read it, I think you'll understand better who I am, and I think you'll understand better just how possible all of this is for you. I have traveled the world. I've met kings and presidents and prime ministers, generals and secretaries of state. And let me tell you, I don't think that I've ever met a more important group than you, because you're a part of me. Now, we've traveled the journey already. We can help show you the way. So I want you to accept our invitation. I want you to join us. I want you to become lawyers. I want to walk into a courtroom. I want to see you on the bench. I want to see you in a black robe. I want to see you to make a difference. So thank you to my sponsors and good friends for having me here today. Your Honor. And I want to thank you for your attention. Don't give up on yourselves. Don't give up on your situation. Don't let these boys do stuff that interfere with you getting done what you need to do. Fellas, stay focused. The stuff these guys are doing out on the street, separate yourself from them. God, there's a greater purpose for you. There are greater opportunities for you. Have you been to Paris yet? Become a lawyer. The world is out there waiting for you. And all the places you read about. One day you'll see them if you want to. And you'll look back on this day and look back at what you went through growing up in Contra Costa County and how you became a lawyer. And you'll know the day you spent here with us was important, and that the decision you make and the commitment that you make to bettering yourself, to working hard, studying, and becoming a lawyer will be the best thing you could ever do for you. So thank you very much, and good luck to you.